35, verses 1 through 4. The wilderness and the dry land shall be glad. The desert shall rejoice and blossom like a crocus. It shall blossom abundantly, and rejoice with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given to it, the majesty of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord, the majesty of our God. Strengthen the weak hands and make firm the feeble knees. Say to those who are of a fearful heart, be strong, do not fear. Here is your God. He will come with vengeance, with terrible recompense. He will come and save. And then from Luke 1, 46 to 55. And Mary said, my soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior. For he has looked with favor on the lowliness of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed. For the mighty one has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the faults of their heart. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich empty away. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and to his descendants forever. This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. Lord, open our hearts and our minds, that we may hear with joy your word for us this day. And as we hear it, let it plant seed that will grow and bear fruit in our hearts, in our lives, in this church and beyond, now and forevermore. Amen. In 1984, gospel singer Mark Lowry wrote a song, wrote the lyrics for a song. Several years later, 1991, Buddy Green put it to music, and Michael English, the great gospel singer, recorded it for the first time. Since that time, it's been recorded by many other artists, including Mark Lowry himself, who has a wonderful rendition of his song, Mary, Did You Know? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will save our sons and daughters? Mary, did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you kiss the face of God. The writer Mark asked these rhetorical questions of Mary as he explores who this baby really is. What did Mary really know? Well, when you listen to Luke 1, you pretty much come to an understanding of what Mary really knew. By the way, this text for me, called the Magnificat or Mary song, is far more powerful when you hear it read than when you read it. So if you haven't done that, have somebody read it to you. If you got one of those apps that plays the Bible like I have on my phone, listen to it that way, or on the computer, or just get somebody to read it. If you close your eyes, that text becomes so very powerful. It's such a powerful and moving expression of awareness and of thanks. Mary is overwhelmed in knowing that God is about to do a mighty thing, and wonders, he's going to do it through her. Teenage girl from a little backwoods village called Nazareth. And yet God was going to change the world and use her as an instrument of it. Powerfully moving text. But it's not just a beautiful, and it is a beautiful scriptural text for us to read or listen to. More than that, this text is the most subversive, countercultural, written document in the world. Do you know that when the British ruled India, until Gandhi led them to freedom, this text was prohibited to be read even in churches? It was banned. During the revolution in Argentina, it was banned, could not be read. And in Guatemala, during their revolution, banned. And I'd be willing to bet you, if you stood in the rotunda of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. and read this scripture out loud, you would either be arrested or detained for a psychiatric evaluation. This text is powerful. When you sit next to it and listen to what this little girl is saying to us in this text, it's powerful. What did Mary know? What was she aware of in this moment? And what is it we need to be aware of in this season of Advent as we journey through it? Well, first of all, Mary tells us that her son, this boy, would be coming to deliver us His mercy is upon those who fear him from generation to generation. Fear here meaning to respect, to see him as the God he really is. Not fear in terms of cower and run away, but fear is turned to this child. This child is God's great act of deliverance, and Jesus would accomplish that deliverance through his life, his death, and his resurrection. Holman Hunt, the great celebrated artist who did the painting of Jesus standing in the garden knocking at the door, has another painting as well. This is it. This painting is called The Shadow of Death. This is a painting of Jesus as a young man in the carpenter shop before he starts his ministry. He's been working until he stretches. You've done that, I have too. And Holman catches the sun shining over him, casting a shadow on the wall to look like he's hanging on the cross. You know the name of this? Shadow of Death. Even then, it was God's plan. The deliverer would come and deliver us and save us from that time of suffering and oppression and death. He would deliver us. He would deliver us. That's what she knew. That's what we need to be aware of. This great deliverer. But that's not the only thing. He not only would deliver us, he would bring good news to the poor. He's going to fill the poor with good things, she said, and send the rich away. Now, to fill the poor here means more than just giving them bread and fish. Though for people who are hungry, that's quite a gift. No, he's talking about filling them with the good news that God loves them and God has not forgotten them. He never will. That in their brokenness, in their love, the Master comes to make a difference. There was a great violinist in England many years ago named Peter Cropper. People began to take notice of this man's gift, and so they were planning a great concert he was to play in London. And somebody said to him, if you're going to play with your talent, why don't you go and borrow the Stradivarius at the university? Stradivarius is the best violin made, extraordinary. So he went, and he said, of course, anybody with your talent, we'd love to hear it played, this music played on Stradivarius. Peter Cropper was rehearsing. And he got up to stretch after rehearsing, and when he turned around to sit back down to practice again, he got hung up on his feet, tripped, and fell and landed on a Stradivarius violin. It was shattered. He was distraught, depressed. But a friend who had come by said to him, there is a violin repairman here who can fix that. I'm convinced he'll make it like new. Take it to him. And he did, and the man worked day and night, and he repaired that violin. And the night of the concert, Peter Cropper played the most beautiful music. He said, it might have sounded even a notch better having been repaired than it did before. But then he said, it's amazing what can happen when you put the broken pieces in the hand of the Master. And that's what Mary's saying. That all of the broken of our world, the forgotten, the lost, the hurting, the wounded, all of them are broken in the hands of the Master. They become something different, whole, new. Because God doesn't forget. He didn't forget them. He will not forget you. He will not forget me. My mother's younger brother is a year younger than my mother. He was always a kind of an interesting joke in our family. My mother would never tell us what her age was. She didn't want anybody to know. But I told her one day, I let her in on it. I said, Mom, I know how old you are. How do you know? I said, I saw Uncle Walt's driver's license and he's a year old younger. So we did. Uncle Walt was in World War II and he ended up in the Pacific and became one of General Douglas MacArthur's bodyguards. And he told me one time, he wouldn't talk about the war, he would talk about the general. He told me one time when I asked him about the general's promise to return to the Philippines. Remember when he had to leave there, the Japanese were invading, he made them a promise he would return. General MacArthur went all the way to Roosevelt to beg him to let him go back into the Philippines. Keep the promise. I shall return. And you can go and look up those media reels or pictures of General MacArthur as he walked off the ship into the waters to walk on to Leyte in the Philippines when he returned. And he said to them, I never forgot you. And he didn't. He didn't forget. God has not forgotten us. Just because things get difficult in our world doesn't mean God forgets. It means we live in a world that's fraught with sin. But the great God remembers, or else it would never have been a baby in that stable in the first place. What does Mary say? He's coming to do a mighty thing. And the poor are going to be the beneficiaries. Now, when she says the rich are go away empty, what she's saying is that the rich who think they have everything they need, they don't need anything else. They're not going to accept that. How many of them turned away from Jesus when he offered them the same gift he offered them? To all who receive, Mary said, to all who fear him, all rich and poor, they can receive. Those who reject, they have turned it back. But he will not forget. He will never forget. That's the message. You probably have never heard the name Joseph DeDuder. That name is largely unknown except in Hawaii and a few small places. We know him better as Father Damien. Joseph DeDuder was a Roman Catholic priest in Hawaii. He volunteered to go to Molokai and live and take care of the people with leprosy. He wanted them to know God had not forgotten them. And so a priest lived there among them. He served them communion. He bathed their wounds, their ulcers. And not too many years later, Father Damien, Joseph DeDuder, died of leprosy that he was taking care of. He caught that disease from those people. But his presence there taught them that God did not forget. And God doesn't. He has come to bring good things to the poor. Blessed are the poor in spirit, Jesus would say later. Blessed are the poor in spirit. He understood. But this child didn't come just to deliver us, as great as that is, or to bring good things to the poor, as powerful as that is. He also came to fulfill the promise that God made. Mary said, the promise that was given to Abraham will be fulfilled in this child. What promise? That you will be my people, and you will be a blessing to the world. Jesus came to fulfill that promise, to bring the people of God together into one community of love, one community of faith. That promise is fulfilled in us. Andrew Murray was a little boy in school, struggling because how would you like to live with everybody knowing that your mother is Madeline Murray O'Hara, the most well-known atheist at her time, and that you were the child that she filed a lawsuit over to ban prayer in public school? Andrew Murray recalls those days in his book, My Life Without God. If you've never read it, I highly recommend you read this book. She ridiculed people who believed in God. She screamed at her children if they asked questions about it. But Andrew Murray, one day, after he was gone from the influence of his mother, who, by the way, was later murdered and cut up in pieces, Andrew Murray found the Lord, came to God, became a devout believer, and wrote this book about his journey, My Life Without God. And Andrew Murray said, I found that the promise of God was true. It was real. And he took an atheist and transformed him into a believer. By the way, if you want to see something interesting sometime, you've got a computer, just Google this phrase, atheist who became believer. You'll be surprised at some of the names you'll pop up on that list, whole list of them that they will put there. It will really blow your mind. One of the names you will see on that list at some point is the name Charles Duke. You may or may not remember that name. Charles Duke, in 1972, became the 10th and the youngest astronaut ever to walk on the moon. Several years after that, he was very depressed. So was his wife. She was on the verge of suicide. And a friend drug her to a Bible study. And she went, go figure. She went. She was so desperate. And there she heard people talk about God and the struggles, and people were praying for her, laying hands on her. And you know, his wife came to believe Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior. And one day, as Charles was lamenting his depression, his struggles, his heartaches, she drugged him. And Charles Duke, one night at a Bible study, just like his wife, gave his life to Jesus Christ. And this was the statement he made before that church later. I have walked on the surface of the moon. But I want to tell you folks something. Walking on the moon is no way compared to what it's like to walk with Jesus. That's the greatest walk, he said, you'll ever take. Amazing. Because when the promise came through in his heart and in his life, it made all the difference in the world. This is the child of promise. And Mary sees it. Mary, did you know that your son is the Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your son will rule all the nations? Mary, did you know that your child is heaven's perfect lamb? Mary, did you know that your child is the great I am? Yes, Mary knew, and so do we. And how, after knowing, could we ever be the same? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.